All right, join me once again here on the Matthew Filipowicz Show is Wagatwe Wanjuki. Wagatwe is a writer for Feministing and F Yeah Feminist. She is an activist for the Know Your Nine campaign, all of which and more you can find at wagatwe.com. You can also find her on Twitter at Wagatwe. Wagatwe, thank you so much for being on the show again.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so Wagatwe, you wrote a piece for BuzzFeed recently entitled "Why I Don't Want to Hear Both Sides of Rape Cases," partially in response to the Rolling Stone story on rape at the University of Virginia. If people are not familiar, I guess just take a minute and tell them about the Rolling Stone story and then the controversy that surrounded it.
Yeah, so recently the Rolling Stone came out with a piece about campus rape at the University of Virginia, and they focus on the story of one survivor under the pseudonym Jackie, and she was gang raped at a frat party, and they sort of follow her story talking about how there's all this institutional apathy, so apathy within the student body as well as the administration, and essentially, the end of the story is more or less similar to most of the stories we've been hearing in the media when it comes to college rape. The school didn't really do anything. UVA has a really bad history with not punishing students who have been accused of rape, even if they are found responsible or likely to have committed it. So there was a big uproar. People were really upset, which is really understandable. UVA responded by shutting down the fraternities temporarily, I believe, until January, and some folks even vandalized the frat house that was mentioned in the piece. Unfortunately, recently there's been more scrutiny. Folks started writing about Jackie's story and saying that there have been some discrepancies, including the fraternity saying, oh, we never had a party the weekend that we're talking about, and they said we've never had a brother that has the name of the person that she accused, even though we don't know the name of the person. It wasn't shared, one of the people that she accused of raping her. So there has been a huge backlash, and on Friday, Rolling Stone essentially gave an apology of sorts, and they changed it now, but one of the lines was, "Our place in Jackie was misplaced," and I think people just got really upset, and I was one of the people who were really upset, and a lot of people have said that this could have been avoided if the Rolling Stone had just approached the people that she's accused and gave them the opportunity to respond to these allegations. And my response essentially is just saying that I don't believe that going to rapists essentially is going to be the right way to validate whether someone or fact check whether somebody was raped or not.
Absolutely, and that makes absolute sense. Let's actually dig into that because, again, their initial, they changed the language on their retraction. The Rolling Stone did, but let's dig into that and why, kind of giving the he said she said framing when it comes to issues of rape and sexual assault does not work. Tell us about it.
Right. So I mentioned the whole he said, she said side, and that argument is used so often just to sort of dismiss sexual violence. It kind of gives this false equivalency that if we just hear from both sides, the truth will come out, which is just not true.
Right.
How many rapists would be like, oh, yeah, you're right, I was there and I raped her. That's a very rare occurrence. And I think we need to remember that at the end of the day, when we hear from both sides, we almost always give the person who was accused of rape the benefit of the doubt, and then we always go after the accuser for a variety of really terrible reasons. So that's why I'm totally against the whole he said, she said, thinking that the truth is somewhere within the words between the two individuals.
Well, not only is more scrutiny given to the victim than the accused, you actually write how it's actually, if reporters do go to them, it's actually potentially very, very dangerous to the victims.
Yes, definitely. So we have to think about the dynamics of campus sexual assault. And one of the things that makes it so hard on the survivor is that you are in a small community with your assailant or multiple assailants. Imagine your assailant getting a call suddenly from a reporter saying, hey, this person said they raped you. That opens you up to, defamation claims, and that's just another battle that the survivor might have to deal with, and also just the physical threat of that person coming and retaliating against you.
No, you mentioned the potential for more violence and more harassment through that is stunning. And again, you also the financial side of it too. Delve into that because you could be sued for defamation. There are actually a lot of financial possible backlashes against it as well.
Yeah, definitely. So, there hasn't been as much research as we would like, but it's very clear that being raped when you're in college often comes at a cost, whether it's from lost tuition or dropping out completely and then having that economic impact. But just thinking about being in this legal battle where you're not guaranteed to have legal representation, and even if the suit ends up being thrown out or dismissed, you still have to be spending money and time and energy in this legal battle with somebody who committed a horrible act against you. And I think that we should be very careful about what we're expecting survivors to put themselves through. I've been able to share my story over various media outlets without having any of them reach out to my assailants. So I definitely think that this idea that we should now always talk to both sides is just super dangerous. And I think there's many costs, both literal and psychological, financially, physically, that we would be putting survivors through if they just want to be able to share their experiences.